Take 55 street stock automobiles right off the showroom floor. Mustangs, BMWs, Pontiac Firebirds, Porsches, Toyotas, and Hondas. Then turn them loose on a racetrack. And anything can happen, and usually does. From Road Atlanta, Georgia, it's round 2 of the Motorola Cup. Brought to you by Motorola, web without wires. By Gehringer, complete logistics solutions. And by Hoosier Tires, tires designed for champions. I'm Jim Martin, and welcome to Road Atlanta, where we're getting set for the start of the second race in the chase for the 1999 Motorola Cup. And with me is the winningest driver in the history of street stock racing, Professor Terry Airwood. What are we looking at here today, Terry?
Well, in the opening race of the season, we saw the Mustang of Scott Maxwell and Greg Wilkins win, while defending champion Pontiac Firebird of Devin Powell and Doug Ghost finished second. Today, they're looking for revenge, but we've got a host of muscle cars. We've got BMWs, we've got RX-7s, we've got just about everything you'd ever see, hot rod cars on the street on the racetrack today.
We're looking at a 3-hour race here at Road Atlanta. The 4 different classes, of course. Lots of pit stops, driver changes, a mandatory part of the scheme. Let's take a look now at our Speed Stick fastest qualifiers. In Grand Sport, we've got the Scott Maxwell, Greg Wilkins Multimatic Ford Mustang on the top of the list again. Right beside them, though, Doug Goad and Devin Powell in the Powell Motorsport Firebird. In the sport class, the fastest qualifier, Howie Liebengood and Scott Harrington in the 14 BMW 328. Fastest in touring, Court Wagner and Scott Hartman in their Audi A4. And in compact today, ahead of that field, the W2AF Engineering Oldsmobile Achieva of Ed Magner and Frank Del Vecchio.
Road Atlanta is one of the more demanding racetracks on the circuit, one of my favorite racetracks to race at. We were chief instructor here for about 6 years, along with Doc Bundy. We have 12 turns, 2.5 miles, shift about 18 times a lap, big, long, huge straightaway, which actually has shortened a little bit. As we go down this back straight, we're going to see a little kink in the right-hand part of the track, and now a big chicane right before the bridge. Used to go up here flat out, just scare you to death, but now you've got to get it back down to second gear, power back up the hill, a blind corner under the bridge here, up to third gear, up to fourth gear, and some of the cars will actually get fifth right here in turn 12 as you go down the front straightaway.
As far as we got lots of onboard zero. Maxwell Wilkins, Ultimatic. TF Racing Ford Mustang with Snyder and Acura. Fairbanks and Goldsboro will carry one in their Lexus. Great Motorsports Tiburon. The LP Racing BMW 328 has an onboard camera for us to look through as well. A huge field, 55 cars come down through the final bend onto the start-finish straightaway as we await the green flag, and we're underway in Atlanta. Right off the top, the 0 Ford Mustang, Greg Wilkins behind the wheel to start off our contest will lead them into turn number 1. Look at this mass of automobiles.
Boy, the Motorola Cup is like, the startup is like watching a prison riot. I'm telling you, 7 cars abreast down in turn 1. Everybody jockeying for position because it narrows down up here in turn 3 down to just 2 lanes wide.
Boy, how many different lines can there be through any given turn? It looked like there had to be 4 or 5, at least on lap number 1.
Well, that's what you have to learn at the start. Oh, a little, that's called the auxiliary ABS.
Scott Harrington kind of leans on the Audi in front of him just a little bit as everybody brakes a little sooner than they're expected to. Boy, what a mess. Trying to get through here and stay on the racetrack and pick up a spot or two, it looks to be quite a challenge.
There's no such thing as a racing line in the first lap. You're just literally being defensive and offensive at the same time.
It's like driving in downtown Manhattan at 140-odd miles an hour. Down the back straightaway, through what used to be a big dip, now a slight dip in the road, through this chicane. And actually, I got to hand it to the folks at Road Atlanta. They've actually made this 2 corners as opposed to one of those little rinky-dink chicanes. It's really a challenging piece of the racetrack that they've added.
But we still come down the hill flat out in 4th gear. We're on board right now with Devin Powell in 2nd place as we try to chase this Mustang down. Big long straightaway, 4th gear down the front straight. Just lightly tap the brakes, sort of slide the car in here.
The field is beginning to stretch out just a little bit. An interesting line by the BMW getting by one of the Ford Mustangs as we watch the 75 Peter Tonelli Toyota chasing down one of the Zippo Ford Mustangs just in front of them. A little puff of smoke. I'm not sure whether that's a motor or a brake lockup on that RX-7, the number 16 car, which seems to be fading just a little bit. Benoit Teach in the 16 RX-7. That car should be a little quicker in a straight line than it appears to be.
Yeah, that turbo works real well on this racetrack. He should be way up to the front.
The RX-7 Turbo, usually one of the rocket ships out here, but he's really having a bit of a challenge, as it looks as though there's a lot of people trying to find their way around. The number 16 car looks as though he's going to lose a spot momentarily to the Zippo Ford Mustang. The Peter Tonelli Toyota Supra is going to follow him by. Very uncharacteristic, because we're right on board with Benoit Teach in that 16 car, and watch these cars slowly ease by on the outside. Like you said, the RX-7 Turbo is a quick car in a straight line, or usually.
And now we come down to the hard braking zone, back down to second gear, still two abreast as we're trying to get into the chicane. Oh, and the Zippo car comes right across his nose, probably Todd Snyder. But as we're going back up the hill now, the Turbo is going to hold his own, so maybe he just made a mistake at the start.
Now Tonelli in the 75 is up to 4th spot. John Kohler running in that group as well, having a real strong start to our race.
A lot of different cars. That's the great part about the Motorola Cup here. We have like 4 different makes in the first 4 cars. Oh, in the pits.
The 14 Liebengood Harrington LP Racing BMW. Let's hear what he has to say on the radio.
Everything was fine. We went running. We were fine. I went up to the S's. All of a sudden, I think something blew. I got on the left front, about spun the car. We got it gathered up. It was all the way down. We went back to the red. Then as I went through turn 5, the temp gauge went back to normal.
A pretty eventful first 2 laps for this BMW.
The backstretch, oil temp went from about 245 up to probably about 280.
You name it, it's happened, and it's on lap number 1. Not a good start.
This is not a great sign. You have to put water back in the car this early. Either he spit a fan belt off and overheated things, or this could be beginning of a head gasket problem.
Either way, things aren't going well right off the top for that team. We catch up to the race leaders. Actually, the 0 car has just disappeared into the horizon. Greg Wilkins doing a great job today. This is the battle for second place. The 11 machine of Devin Powell trying to defend his spot against the 75. Peter Tonelli, that Toyota Supra, running real well again today.
He slots right in between the 2 Firebirds for the 3rd place on the racetrack, going down the long front straightaway. He's going to take a peek in the braking zone and takes over 2nd place.
A great shot from on board with Devin Powell as we watch the Toyota Supra drive by to the inside into turn number 1 and then powers up the hill. Devin looks to be pretty much powerless to do anything about it right now. Greg Wilkins, on the other hand, is running a race all by himself. He doesn't have anybody to worry about behind him, and he's got a clean racetrack in front of him as we watch him head into turn number 6.
There's not much finer you can do with a race car. To be out there by yourself, you're in clean air, you're not worried about back markers right now. You can keep the brakes cool, the tires cool. You just have to be precise with where you put the car, and you're the only guy on the racetrack that isn't being bothered by somebody else. Oops, flat tire.
Tire going down to the number 10, the Team Hurricane Acura of John Barassa.
And Lance Stewart, this was a great car. This car, is qualified well, has run real well, and he's obviously had some help with this tire. I don't think it'll go down on its own. As we come into the chicane, yes, sir, he comes inside the 82 little Honda Prelude and knocks the Prelude, turns him around, also flats his right front. You can't afford contact. You can't afford to knock a tire down. From the end car, maybe we can see back here in one of the non-maker cars, as we look down, he's taking a little peek to the left, and he can't quite get it. Oh, I think he might have blown a tire. The car actually turns right. The minute he jams the brakes on, he might have popped that tire and got into the Honda.
Well, while we've had all that action at the entrance to the chicane, the race leader has had somebody sneaking up behind him. Peter Tonelli in the 75 Toyota Supra running 2nd to Greg Wilkins in the 0 Ford Mustang as we look at the STP leaderboard. 3rd place, the 32 Firebird. In sport class, the Lally Johnson BMW Z3 Coupe currently. Looking back a little bit further at touring, the Wagner and Hartmann Audi A4. And in compact, it's the Magner and Del Vecchio Oldsmobile Achiever. Welcome back to Road Atlanta, round number 2 of the Motorola Cup. The leader, Greg Wilkins, 2nd place, the 75 Peter Tonelli Toyota. A great battle between these two, and Peter slowly catching him up as well.
A lot of good cars here in the back. Some of the guys are sort of biding their time, taking their time. You've got to stay within sight of the leaders, but a lot of guys have strategy about how to use the brakes, how to use the tires, and still not get outrun on the racetrack.
You have to be very careful with how you want to keep up with the cars ahead of you, if there are any, and the same goes with if you're setting the pace yourself. You have to be very careful with the pace you set. It can't be too quick and it can't be too slow. But usually it all comes around in the end because the guys that run hard might not be there at the end.
And it looks as though we've got a couple guys running real hard up at the front. Peter Tonelli's getting very close to the back bumper of the 0 Ford Mustang. Greg Wilkins maybe looking a little bit cautious in traffic, and it seems to have cost him a little bit of real estate between first and second. Tonelli is caught up maybe because of that turbocharged Toyota.
Well, the turbo, you know, it doesn't have quite the torque of the V8, so maybe at the start he got bogged in behind the slower traffic, but now he's out in the open and he's going to run the Mustang down.
It really seems as though he's trying, and he's taking advantage of some of the back markers as well, as the race leaders are catching up to some of the slower touring class and compact class automobiles. And now Peter Tonelli is right on the back bumper of the Mustang at the exit of the chicane and underneath the bridge.
You know, ideally you want to sort of be behind so you can use the draft. Your car runs cooler, but when you get to traffic, you want to lead through traffic if at all possible. Now
Tonelli looks to the inside down the front straightaway. Does he have enough steam to take over that Ford Mustang? Mustang's pretty quick in its own right.
The Mustang is quick. The Toyota, you know, it has a lot of horsepower. He's been biding his time. He's back here. But this track might suit the Mustangs.
This track is a very interesting track. It's got some high-speed sweeping corners. Of course, the back straightaway is quite long, so we're making, I think, over 140 miles an hour before the braking zone. So it's perhaps a little bit less technical and a little more gutsy track. But our home track is Mosport, just outside Toronto, and it's very similar to this, so we feel quite comfortable here.
You know, our leader's sitting here fighting for first and second, but the back of the pack is right there. We can still see all the way back to sixth place.
Chuck Snipes doing a great job in the 21 budget Ford Mustang. Looks to the inside of the 32 Firebird into sixth and steals away that position. Again, this racetrack may suit the Ford Mustangs, and Chuck Snipes seems to prove that point with what looked to be a pretty easy pass in the braking zone there.
Yeah, those cars, they all have about the same brakes, about the same horsepower, but some cars handle differently. So some tracks, the Mustang might be faster here and the Firebird faster at Sebring, for instance.
Pretty fair-sized group, and as the race leader and Peter Tonelli have been duking it out, maybe they've been concentrating on each other a little bit more than ordinarily they would, and it seems as though the pack is catching them up again.
I think the pack's pulling up on them. You have to be real careful here. You can't race each other and forget about those guys back there. So they're trying to keep fairly clean. I'm amazed they're not pulling away further.
Once again down the hill and down the front straightaway as we see exactly how far apart first and second place are. Less than a car length. That is, again, some of the touring class automobiles, the Sportside, Acura just in front of them as they bend the cars into the uphill right-hander turn number 1 here at Road Atlanta.
As you're leading, you try to use the small cars as what we call a pick. In other words, if you can just barely get around that one guy right before a corner, hopefully the guy behind you can't. Here in the S is a great place to do that. Turn 3 all the way down to turn 5.
On board now with Benoit Tiege, that number 16 Mazda RX-7, which has fallen down the pack just a little bit, and it appears as though he's stabilized that situation, but can't really make any big moves as we watch one of the cars fall off the racetrack in one just in front of him.
This is a great part of the racetrack. Turn 3 down to turn 5. This begins the S's. You're down to third gear here, hard right-hand turn, flat on the floor. You can pass on the outside here a little bit. You have to have some cooperation with your buddies. Now we're flat out down the hill, fourth gear. It's a right-hand S, a left-hand S in a hard braking zone. Firebird goes off the track on the left, but he comes right back. He doesn't even lose a spot.
It takes a lot of nerve to keep your foot on the throttle like that and come right back, and maybe a little bit of luck that he didn't lose any spots in doing so.
I'd rather be luckier than good. That was a lucky shot there. Here we have an outside pass. Usually this is not the preferred line going to turn 6. The only bank turn on the racetrack. A fair amount of camber here you really can't see from on board the car.
But you see exactly what it looks like to go by somebody. You don't really know if you're clear, and Benoit Tiege made the pass look real easy. Now we've got a 3-car battle for first place as we watch the race-leading 0 Ford Mustang through the chicane with a 75 Toyota hot in tow, and now Chuck Snipes has cut up to that group. Snipes looking to the inside of Peter Tonelli's 75 Toyota underneath the bridge and down the front straightaway again. A big battle for second place.
Oh, a scary place to pass here. Flat out, fourth gear, turn 12 down the front straightaway. The Mustang had to pinch down his radius, our leader. So we see Tonelli right there, but here comes the third place car. It's going to be 3 abreast into turn 1.
Side by side, Snipes gets by Peter Tonelli for second place. Now challenges Greg Wilkins to the inside, powering up the hill. Isn't going to make it. Side by side, the battle for second continues with Snipes and Tonelli.
Tonelli on the inside in turn 3 has a preferred line. He walks Snipes out of the outside. Snipes is giving him room at the apex, but he doesn't repay the favor and knocks him off the racetrack.
Boy, Chuck Snipes jumps onto the brakes there, and if he hadn't, he was going to take that 75 Toyota off with him. Peter Tonelli inherits second place After that altercation, let's look again.
I think we see here it forces second place. Snipes is giving him the apex in turn 3. He tracks out, bumps him off the racetrack, and on a pretty sleaze deal, he gets into second. Snipes has to really get on the binders to stay on that wall in turn 4.
Everybody was a little bit lucky there, and not necessarily because of any gentlemanly driving, I don't think. The race leader, though, is still the 0 Ford Mustang. Greg Wilkins still leading the 75 Toyota Supra down the front straightaway. In spite of everything else that's been going on, these two guys are having a great battle. Unfortunately, now there's only 2 cars involved in it instead of 3.
Yeah, but you still can see the top 5 back here on this front straightaway, so it's still anybody's race, even though these guys are trying to break away right now.
Now they're trying to deal with some of the back markers, and that's going to be a bit of a challenge. The number 7 Ford Mustang side by side with the other Zippo car out on the racetrack, who steals away the spot, as a matter of fact. That's the Gary Smith number 47 car, taking the position away from David Lacey. Back up front with the race leader through 5, 6, 7 now. Down the straightaway at the exit of the slowest piece of the racetrack here at Road Atlanta. This is where the horsepower really shows. If somebody's got an advantage, it's going to be real evident here.
And we see the Firebird in third place back here. Going to use a little bit of the draft. He's run some clean traffic, and now he's pulling up, and he's going to be in the fight.
Don Knowles in that number 32 Firebird is going to make it a 3-car show up at the front of the field again as they head into the chicane. Heavy on the brakes and down 1, 2 gears at least, maybe 3. We ride along with Greg Wilkins underneath the bridge and head toward the front straightaway again. Boy, you've got to have a lot of nerve to do this, and Greg Wilkins is a problem. Listen.
Something definitely wrong with the car. Here goes our leader, a new leader, Peter Tonelli, and right behind him, the Firebird comes zipping by. We've dropped down to third place. He's either fumbling for a gear or he's broken something in the drivetrain.
There's no transmission, literally, between the engine and the rear wheels. The 0 Ford Mustang that looked to be leading this one rather handily had a big challenge behind him. Unfortunately, it may have pressured the car into some kind of a mechanical failure. Greg Wilkins must be heartbroken as he rolls the car to a stop beside the gravel trap in turn number 1. So we've got a new race leader. Peter Tonelli has now inherited first place. He and Peter Cunningham, the 75 Toyota Supra, are race leaders here at Road Atlanta. Round number 2 will continue in just a moment as the course workers take the 0 car off the race circuit. Welcome back to round number 2 of the Motorola Cup at Road Atlanta. Big changes in the race order. Of distraught Greg Wilkins gets out of the 0 car after leading the race early. Greg Wilkins.
The car was actually running really well, and we weren't pushing it that hard. And I just came over under the bridge, started looking for third gear, and I couldn't get it in the gate. And then I tried to find any gear on the way down. I was just coasting along the front straightaway. It turned out the clutch is out of the car. We had actually a clutch problem in practice day before last, and we had to put a smaller clutch in. 99 parts aren't actually available for these cars yet, so we have a 98 clutch in there, and I guess it just was too much for it.
Oh, and we got a car sideways in the middle of the front straightaway as cars are coming storming down the hill toward him. And he manages to get it out of the way. That's the number 13 Pontiac Firebird, the Bill Black Firebird.
We're going to get to see this from behind. If we come under the bridge, third gear, fourth gear, flat out. The Firebird's to our right. We're turning in flat out. And all of a sudden, we're going to try to share this piece of racetrack here. And he jams the brakes on, locks up the rears, turns it around, almost knocks our silver car off the racetrack. Fortunately, no harm, no foul. But it blocks the whole track here for a minute right at the start-finish line. This is 105 miles an hour by the radar gun right here.
Boy, look at how long that car slides. And then he rolls it backwards and nearly collects a bunch of other people.
Yeah, he's not done trying to block his track yet. Now he's going to pull in front of the pack.
Oh, he nearly collects a whole bunch of other people out there. Out front, though, ignoring all the other problems, Peter Tonelli trying to hold on to a lead in front of a whole pack of Firebirds chasing him through the S's right now. Peter Schwartzot leading in the touring class in the 71 Acura. Peter's been at this for quite a while. The 60-year-old keeps on going, and we asked him how.
I love it. I like it as much as I did when I started. I'm just as fast as I was. I'm beating those 18-year-olds. What other activity can you be involved in as a sportsman for that length of time? It's great. So I'll keep going as long as I'm quick.
He certainly is quick today, leading his class. Somebody else that's quick and knows how to get the job done. Don Knowles, one of the veterans, one of the first street stock racers, knows the deal too.
It's very much a tire conservation and a brake conservation pace. We had about half of our brakes left after an hour, which is fantastic. We ran the tires down to the rear cords, down to the cords in the rear, so the people that have the best setup to even out the tire wear between front and rear are going to be around at the finish.
Marty Miller gets in behind the wheel as the 32 Phoenix American Firebird leaves pit lane. The Peter Tonelli 75 Toyota Supra comes into the pits on lap number 34 as well. And that means that the lead will fall to the number 47, the Zippo Ford Mustang of Gary Smith and Jeff Lapsovich, the leader in Grand Sports. Pit stops now becoming the norm for just about everybody out on the race circuit.
The Tonelli car jacked up sort of funny. That way you can get a full tank of gas in the car by tilting up on one side. Also, we see the yellow Firebird. They're getting fresh tires, says the Hoosiers on it. So all the guys coming in for driver changes, tire changes, get some gas. Boy, you can lose a lot of time right here.
The 75 car back out on the course once again after what seemed to be a rather long pit stop. The number 11 car in along pit lane as well. Devin Powell will get out. Doug Goad will get in during, again, a routine pit stop. It's that time for all the Grand Sport cars as everybody comes in for a fresh set of Hoosiers, especially on the left-hand side. We've got a car slow out on the racetrack. The 47 machine, our race leader. Gary Smith is off the track, and it looks to be some kind of a serious mechanical problem. I'm not sure whether he's come in contact with another incident out on the track involving an Audi. Backwards, facing the wrong way, headed into the chicane.
Yeah, this is down to the back of the end of the long straightaway. Second gear corner, hard braking zones. Oh, he's backwards headed this way. Auburn Hudman car.
Tim Hubman and Jeff Oberlin, and
he's got the NASCAR roof flaps. I'm glad
what a
I know
good
they
idea.
added that this year. Except it's the southern version. You just pull the trunk release.
Well, it seemed to have slowed him down just a little bit more.
Not sure how he got there.
The number 44 car is our new race leader, the Boris Said John Kohler Ford Mustang. Another car off just a few moments ago, the number 31, the Conway Yacht Pile Motorsports Pontiac Firebird. We saw him in a pit lane a moment ago, now doing a little off-roading as well.
Yeah, sometimes with the driver change, fresh tires, it takes a lap or two to get used to everything. This is Craig Conway from Daytona Beach. Craig knows this racetrack.
Here's the STP leaderboard. At lap number 40, the Grand Sport leader, the Kohler and Said 44 Ford Mustang. In Sport Class, the Lally & Johnson 70 BMW Z3 Coupe on top. In the touring class, it's Bob Endicott and Peter Schwartzot, the Acura Integra 71. And in compact, Craig and Cullen in the Hyundai Tiburon number 8. Welcome back to the Motorola Cup from Road Atlanta. As you can see, the number 31 car in for its pit stop, filling up with Sunoco Ultra 94. Not only are all of these cars street legal, they all use pump gas as well. Sunoco Ethanol Enhanced Ultra 94, the official fuel of the Motorola Cup. Sunoco's always been the leader in high-performance fuel, going back to the days of the legendary Sunoco 260 that everybody used when they began racing. Now, with the addition of ethanol, this new Ultra 94 is the hot ticket, especially when you're looking for that last extra little bit of performance, like the drivers here in the Motorola Cup.
Believe it or not, when I was 16 years old, my first race ever, a guy wanted to run me for $1. The first thing we did was take my air cleaner off my 57 Chevrolet and bought 5 gallons worth of Sunoco 260. We won the race, but he made it 2 out of 3.
That's usually the way it works, isn't it? The leader, the 44 Mustang, in along pit lane. Boris Said will get in and replace John Kohler in the car.
Boris drives everything in the world. He drives the Craftsman NASCAR trucks. He drives Winston Cup. This guy can drive anything well. A little rough once in a while, but boy, he's fast and fun to be around.
He's a great guy with a tremendous sense of humor and a heck of a race car driver as the 44 car comes out almost side by side with the 32 Firebird. The race for the lead. The Firebird takes over the spot, but just barely. First and second place are running nose to tail through the S's. Marty Miller in the 32 Firebird. Boris Said in the Zippo Ford Mustang, the 44 car. We've got that Z3, the BMW Sport Class leader, mixed into this as well. And right behind them, we've got Doug Oden, the number 11 Pontiac Firebird 2. A great battle on our hands around the race circuit. The top 3 cars running within a couple yards of each other.
Well, we've got great drivers in the cars to finish. We're down to the shootout now, so it all boils down to what did my co-driver leave me? We used to pride ourselves on bringing in a good car, good tires, good brakes, nice and cool, low engine temperatures. So that just depends on what has happened to these cars the first half of this race. These guys are all great killer instinct guys in their own. What kind of car do they have?
And at the same time, who's going to be best dealing with this traffic? There's race traffic all around the race circuit. Doug Goad closing in on the 44 Boris Said Mustang just a little bit there as everybody's trying to get through the traffic and at the same time put on as quick a race pace as they dare with what's left of the vehicles as we approach the second half of the race.
Yeah, ideally you can run flat out from here on out. If you guys left you a good enough car, just take it on home.
Down the front straightaway again with the race leader, a little bit of a slide as those two cars are hooked up pretty well behind them. And looking to the inside, here comes Doug Goad trying to make a move to the inside of Boris Said. Can he get it done there side by side through turn number 1? Goad with the line. Boris Said maybe with a little momentum, and it's going to be Doug Goad winning the race to the top of the hill. Doug Goad is on some kind of a mission. Not only does he get by Boris Said, but he's eaten up a lot of the real estate between himself and the first place 32 Marty Miller Firebird as well. Those two cars now run nose to tail.
And Boris is right there. It's going to be a great 3-car battle. Once we get through the S's, we sort of stretch out a little bit going down to turn 6. Hopefully they can get around the back markers in time. 7 is a corner where we have to park the cars once we get down in here. So as you see, Doug, he wants to lead down into this traffic. He's popped out on Marty, but has to tuck back in. Boris, he's not going to give up anything. He don't care who the back markers are. He's going to try to stay right on the tail of those two Firebirds.
The two Firebirds now heavy on the brakes and down the straightaway where once again everybody just sees how quickly they can go in a straight line. Maybe a little bit of a drafting motion happening here.
Drafting really works here. If those guys can get hooked up, they go over 100 miles an hour. Boy, big race to the finish.
A great battle, a 3-way battle between Marty Miller, Doug Goad, and right behind Boris Said at Road Atlanta. The Motorola Cup at Road Atlanta. We got a 3-way battle for the lead. The 32 Firebird, the 11 Firebird, and the 44 Ford Mustang.
But lurking here in the back, there's a little white car, number 54. It's an M3 BMW. He's in 4th place, coming into view right now. He's hanging in.
Doug Goad in the 11 Sunoco Firebird looks to the inside of Marty Miller, gets the job done and into turn number 6. Marty Miller falls to 2nd spot. Doug Goad is the new race leader. 1, 2, 3, and 4 all running nose to tail down the back straightaway. Boris Said looks like he's sneaking up in the back bumper of the Firebird as well.
All 3 cars nose to tail. They'll use the draft down this back straightaway so nobody can really pull away from anybody as they head down the chicane.
In along pit lane for what looks to be the routine stop there. That's the Barassa Stewart Acura leader in the class. However, the lead's going to fall back to the BMW Z3. The number 70 car will steal that one away. Go by them while they're stopped in along pit lane. The Johnson Lally Z3, now leader in sports. Andy Lally just a moment ago taking over for Mike Johnson, who drove the first stint.
The traffic with a slower car isn't really as bad as traffic with a car your own speed. You know, we're stuck in between a couple of touring cars right now, and the touring cars, you know, we might be able to get a little faster down the straights, they might be a little slower in the corners, and then the opposite, the Grand Sports cars that are behind us, they're going to motor right down us in the straightaways, then we get to the corners and we drive back. So I actually have a lot more trouble with them than the car that's maybe 2-3 seconds lap slower than you drive right by it.
Back in the touring class, the Schwarzkopf Endicott number 71 Acura, their leader, by a pretty fair margin right now as well over the 43 Mazda MX-6 of Storita and Wymore. And currently running third, we got the 51 Mazda MX-6. That's the Bagley and Luffy entry. As far as the compact class, we've got the number 8 Hyundai Tiburon of Gord Cullen. The Hyundai squad still having another good run here at Road Atlanta today. Running pretty much all by themselves, as a matter of fact, right now.
They have a pair of beautiful team cars, a Canadian team. This is one of the first times I've ever seen a Hyundai on a racetrack. They do a nice job.
Now, as far as back up with the Grand Sport teams, Boris Said in the number 44 Zippo Ford Mustang, trying to catch up to the 32 Marty Miller car, and we've got another Firebird with a little bit of a problem from the look of things. As we watch Boris Said drive to the inside of Marty Miller up to the S's and steal away second position on the racetrack.
Yeah, Marty didn't fight him for the spot. He's going to stay right behind him, follow Boris for a while. He knows Boris is real fast in his Mustang. He's going to be right there. But these guys, it's a tough race. The BMW, the 54 car, Steve Pfeiffer, is hanging right there.
You know, we haven't made too much mention of it, but he's driven a nice, steady, consistent race. And now, as we're approaching the second half of the contest, it looks as though he's starting to reel some people in. The BMW has had this reputation of being a nice, consistent automobile. As we catch up to the race leaders down the front straightaway, Doug Goad in the 11 Sunoco Firebird puts 2 wheels off.
It's easy to do on the front straightaway. It's a 110-mile-an-hour exit coming down that straight. You drop a wheel off. He's trying to miss the car in front of him, the Audi at the same time. There's a lot going on, you know, it's just at the end of the day, too. The tires are getting hot. The track's getting a little greasy.
Steve Pfeiffer in the 54 BMW up into turn number 1, drives to the inside. The 32 Firebird, it looked as though he almost gave away the spot.
Well, we saw Boris get around him last lap, so something definitely might be off on the 32 car. The BMW, by the same token, toward the end of the race here, he may have saved that race car. We see our leader coming back down the front stripe one more time.
Doug Goad driving a nice, smooth line, trying to put a little bit of real estate between himself and Boris Said in the 44 Ford Mustang. And, of course, the 54 Steve Pfeffer, BMW, doing a real nice job on the racetrack currently as well, and he may be turning laps a little bit quicker. Into the pit, the number 32 Firebird.
Yeah, we saw the car slow down the last 2 laps. Marty Miller, maybe he's just a little low on fuel. Maybe he's got a tire going down, but he definitely loses spots here in the pits.
All right, well, we watched the 32 car in pit lane. We'll be back with more in a moment. Welcome back to Road Atlanta for the Motorola Cup. We're at lap number 77 out front. The Devin Powell, Doug Goad entry. Doug Goad currently wheeling the Sunoco Firebird around the race circuit. Now he has a pretty substantial lead over the 44 Ford Mustang, which runs second. The 54 BMW right behind, though, in third position. And it's about that time of the race. Once again, we expect to see a bunch of people in along pit lane. We'll get another look at Boris Said, who's been driving the wheels off that Zippo Ford Mustang over the last little while, but hasn't been able to put a real big dent in the advantage that Doug Goad has in the 11 Firebird.
Yeah, but we still have a round of pit stops coming up. You know, anything can happen. You work your butt off on the racetrack for 2 or 3 seconds. Sure enough, here we see our leader coming down into the pit lane right now.
We watch him roll it along pit lane. This should be a routine stop.
But boy, a routine stop can ruin your whole day. You know, one lug nut gets caught, or you can't get the jack under the car or something. The boys just have to be so sharp when they do these pit stops.
Boris Said trying to make up some of that ground. Here comes Boris down the start-finish line and steals away first position. Boris Said takes the lead on the pit stop with the number 11 Firebird.
You know, ideally, Boris will come in a few minutes, get the same amount of gas, same amount of tires, and take the same amount of time, and they wind up together back on the racetrack, hopefully. Notice all these cars get just a 2-tire change, either left side or the right side, or maybe just the rear.
2 tire change and some oil going into the 11 car. A long, long stop from the look of things, as the crew goes to work underneath the right-hand side of the car now.
Yeah, I hate it when a crewman starts signaling on a side he's not supposed to be on to begin with. It's not look good.
Not a good stop at all. It cost him a lot of track position. Boris Said once again rolling down that turn number 11 down the front straightaway.
We've got to get that Pontiac out. Here comes Boris. We've got to stay on this lead lap. And boy, Boris doesn't put him a lap down, but it's close.
Doug Goad is back out on the racetrack, still on the same lap as the race leader, but only by a couple of hundred yards. The 54 BMW moving to the inside, unlaps himself on the 44 car as well.
I don't know if Boris just went wide in that corner or the BMW just had a plan, but looks like the BMW's pulling out a lead here.
Well, the BMW's unlapped himself, and it looks as though perhaps Boris Said's been driving the wheels off the Ford Mustang to the point where he doesn't have much car left.
Yeah, I'd like to know their race strategy, their pit strategy, what this car needs to go to the finish.
One of the cars we haven't seen in along pit lane recently is this 44 Zippo Ford Mustang, and it should be time momentarily. We'll keep an eye on it. Through the chicane once again, Boris Said, the TF Racing Ford Mustang with the number 10 Hurricane Acura in along pit lane. Exits the racetrack to the left on the top of the hill, underneath the bridge, down the old pit road. And we'll watch Boris Said and watch the Zippo Ford Mustang crew go to work.
A critical pit stop here. Doug Goad took almost 1 whole lap to get his car serviced. Boris is signaling, look over here, look in the left rear. I probably hit somebody, but he's just trying to get gas. Looks like it's not going to be a tire change. He's definitely going to try to win this race on strategy in the pits.
This will be interesting. If the BMW, the 22 car, Jeff McMillan could get by before he comes out, the 22 BMW will become our race leader.
Yeah, but something's going on here. Boris is calling for something they hadn't planned on. They're looking at the left rear wheel. They had not planned to make this tire change, so this is going to cost them in the long run. I don't know if he had a radio problem or whatever, but his crew did not know he wanted those rear tires.
All right, the 22 BMW now into the chicane. If they can get by before Boris gets out again, they're going to steal away this spot. The 22 car.
And the BMWs use up less tires, maybe a teeny bit less gas than these big old V8s.
Boy, the crew has really got a lot on their hands. Boris has a whole different agenda than what I think they had originally planned as we watch the 22 BMW storm down the front straightaway and take over the lead.
Man, pit stops are everything in endurance racing.
It certainly seems to be today. There's no doubt about that. As Boris Said falls down to second spot as the 22 BMW, Jeff McMillan aboard, takes over first place. The first time we've seen a BMW lead today.
And you know they're happy about this, but I think they owe us a pit stop. I think these guys cannot go to the end on gas. They may need a couple of tires, so he's going to lead. It may be short-lived.
Well, he's got a little bit of a lead to deal with. He does have a little bit of track position on the second place, 44 Zippo Ford Mustang. And Boris Said, now with a fresh set of tires, is driving as fast as he has all day long. He knows that if he can make up some of this ground, he's going to force the 22 car into coming into the pits and see how fast they can get out for a change, putting some pressure on the other
sure enough,
team.
the BMW's in. He's getting left side tires right now as we speak. If they can do a quicker stop than Boris did, and Lord, it shouldn't take much, then they may be able to get back out. Oh, here comes Boris in turn 1.
Boris said steals away the spot. Now the race lead once again goes to the 44 car. This will be interesting. Boris said again. John Kohler and Boris said in that 44 Ford Mustang, the Grand Sport leader overall currently.
The BMW finally gets out of the pits. All 3 of our leaders had terrible pit stops, so nobody really had a gain here. But he gets out with Boris still in the lead. You know, Boris runs Winston Cup cars, he runs the NASCAR trucks, but he loves to come back to the Motorola Cup.
I mean, to me, racing's racing. I mean, I'll race a guy in go-karts today if he wants to race. I mean, I don't care. And you know, I mean, I started in this series racing Ford Mustangs and Camaros, and you know, it's a great training ground. I mean, there's 70 cars out there, and I mean, it's good close racing. And you know, I jumped at the opportunity to do it with these guys and their Ford Mustangs, and Zippo as a sponsorship. It's a really good package.
Boris loves racing, and he's working real hard this afternoon, but according to the scoring monitors, the fastest car out there is this number 11 Sunoco Pontiac Firebird, Doug Goad, the fastest car on the track, and he is catching him up too. Boris said's going to have a little bit of a challenge on his hand in the next little while if he's not careful, unless he can pick up the pace. Doug Goad in the Sunoco Firebird, the fastest car out there.
Doug does a great job of marching to the front. We see our leader here in sports category. That's John Barassa, Lance Stewart. This car started off as a touring car at the beginning of the year, but way too fast for touring, so they bumped it up to sports, and he's leading in sports.
The STP leaderboard. Kohler and said the 44 Mustang lead overall. Sport class leading Stewart and Barassa in the Acura. In the 71 Integra, they're leading touring. The 27 Honda Del Sol leads compact right now. Back to the Motorola Cup from Road Atlanta, round number 2, where we could have a new leader. Doug Goad in the 11 Sunoco Firebird is running down Boris said in the silver number 44 Zippo Ford Mustang.
Getting closer every lap. Here, hard braking zone, turn 7. This is a hairpin turn. Second gear in some cars, third gear in some cars. Doug Goad, who is a champion at saving a car, is running this Mustang down.
He sure is, as he gets by another one of the Grand Sport, the number 97 Firebird, with pretty easy dispatch. And now down the straightaway, they head toward the chicane once again as we can see this gap disappearing. One of the Mazda Miatas pointing our race leader Boris said to the right-hand side as they approach the chicane.
Yeah, they come down into traffic, though. Everybody's got to sort of stop down here, get it back to second gear. They're coming up on the DeVecchio Magner Achieva, or sometimes under Achieva. Sometimes it gets in the way, but these guys try real hard. But they have a race of their own. Look, Doug Goad is right here as we go into the bridge, going down that long straightaway. Third gear, fourth gear. The guys just do get fifth, turn it in. Doug takes a peek on the front straight on Boris. Boris trying to hold him off. If anybody can, it will be Boris said. Down this long straight, though, it's wide open turn 1. Look for a pop. Sure enough, the Firebird on the inside. In the braking zone, light braking zone here. The Firebird takes the point as they go up the hill.
Doug Goad with a perfect pass into turn number 1. Maintains just a little bit more momentum into the corner and now begins to walk away from Boris said in the 44 Zippo Ford Mustang. That number 11 Firebird driving as if it's on rails around the racetrack, carving his way through the back markers and carving his way past Boris said at the same time.
I guess we now have the answer as to who had the most car left when he got in it. This little 11 Firebird is flying.
Doug Goad looks as though he's been able to pull out a pretty substantial gap just over the last several corners and through the S's. Coming up to turn number 6, once again, one of the harder braking zones here at Road Atlanta. Through a little bit of a dip. And a right-hand corner followed by an almost 90-degree right, which leads onto the big back straightaway. Doug Goad, the Sunoco Firebird, the new race leader after getting by Boris said just a moment ago. Now we catch up to the leader in the touring class, Bob Endicott, now behind the wheel of the 71 BBS Acura Integra. He and Peter Schwartzot sharing that ride today, doing a nice job and actually looking to catch up the Grand Sport Porsche 911 just in front of them.
You know, a lot of these cars are the same speed in different parts of the racetrack. The little Acura running with a Porsche and running with a Firebird right now.
In some of the twistier parts of the racetrack, the lower class automobiles are just as fast and in some cases quicker than some of the Grand Sport machines. A little bit further back as we catch up now to the number 10 car. Remember, this car had a flat earlier on today. The Barassa Stewart, number 10 Acura Integra, leading the sport class. They've had a pretty fair afternoon considering their trials and tribulations. The 70 BMW running in second spot. They're pretty far back as far as race position is concerned. There's still a ways to go and anything can happen. The BMW The number 70 car running second. Here comes Frank Del Vecchio across the grass. He's kind of shortcutted the chicane there. Frank Del Vecchio's got a real problem.
Yeah, he took a little shortcut back there. I've seen him take that line before. This time probably not on purpose. Looks like he's having trouble coming into pits because he came across the grass there. As we come down into the chicane, we have a replay. He puts the brakes on in front. Oh, what brakes? The car does not slow down. Oh, he gets good air, good hang time, Frank. As he comes, now you got to go back to full power to get it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you stop it, you get stuck, and if you go back to full power, you crash on the other side. So at least he gets it out of there, nurses it to the pits. Looks like he's gonna go behind the wall.
I hope he can get it stopped back there. Frank Del Vecchio, no brakes with the Oldsmobile Achieva. We'll be back with more from Road Atlanta in just a minute. Welcome back to the final laps of the Motorola Cup round here at Road Atlanta. The 44nd place Zippo Ford Mustang slowly but surely being caught up by the 54 BMW Mike Fitzgerald.
He's also trying to signal his pits. He had his left hand out and he's tapping his brakes. I don't know if something might be wrong with that car.
A lot of cars having brake problems. We just saw the Del Vecchio Oldsmobile Achieva along pit lane with exactly that problem. It's tracked very high speeds with some slow corners in it. They're on the brakes a lot around here.
Yeah, speaking of brakes, though, these BMWs, that's one thing that they have great brakes, and the cars last all day long.
And it seems to be paying them off in spades, the BMWs. Whoa, we've got a big incident here. Rearranging the nose of the 44 Zippo Ford Mustang. He and Randy Pobst have come together.
I don't think Randy backed into him. It sure looks like Boris might have snuck up on him.
Boy, it sure isn't going to help the aerodynamics at all. Maybe a little retaliation for an incident back at Sebring. Sometimes Boris has been in the past a little aggressive.
Yeah, he has used what they call the chrome horn once in a while. And he used a big version of it this time.
And he hits him again. Randy Pobst now gets run into from behind by the 44 of Boris Said.
Nice save by Randy.
Love lost here.
No, not at all. Nice save by Randy. Randy has great car control. He was an autocross champion. Good save, but I don't know what started all that.
I'm not sure, but it appears as though the 44 car is definitely on its way into pit lane to have some body work taken care of because he sure can't finish, not the way that car is right now.
I think he was trying to signal the pits. I think he may have a brake problem. Maybe he used Randy for his auxiliary ABS.
Maybe that's what it is. Well, you know, to be totally honest, before we assign any blame to anybody for aggressive driving or anything else, it may be that some of the cars are having brake problems, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Boris Said can't even slow down for the chicane.
Following Del Vecchio's tracks in the Oldsmobile a few laps ago, at least it cleaned off the front end.
Hey, it may have solved the problem. Now, I wonder if he knows that it's cleaned the problem off. He's going to come in along pit lane, obviously not to have body work done now to have the guys look at the brakes in that car.
Yeah, that's a problem when you're running hard, when you're running up front, you're trying to stay out front, use the car up.
And while they've been using the car up, Doug Goad and Devin Powell have been kind of running away with this. We haven't talked about him for the last little while. Doug Goad, all by himself in that number 11 Sunoco Firebird, seems to have this one pretty well in hand, and everybody behind him seems to be having a few problems. The only exception, perhaps, the BMWs, and we'll have to wait and see about them. The 44 car in long pit. Look at that brake. It's on fire.
Yeah, way too much heat. Just use them slap up here at Road Atlanta, boy. It's easy to do. They're going to try to throw a set of pads on it right quickly. Boy, this is tough work. You burn your hands, you burn your knees.
The 27 car in along the pit lane. That's a leader. Been dueling with the number 8 Hyundai all day, giving the 8 Hyundai of Gord Cullen and Mark Craig a real substantial lead in compact as they've come in for a late fuel stop.
Boy, just missed that strategy one teeny bit, it looks like.
The final lap, Doug Goad is home free, looking for the finish just around the corner here.
Nearly home free, but he's still coming down the back straightaway down to the chicane, you know, just trying to get through these last couple of corners. He just slowly slows it down, not going to hurt this car. He knows there's a checkered flag in his immediate future. All he's got to do is climb this one last hill, comes around the chicane, and waves at a corner worker, and he literally can coast to the finish from here.
It's all downhill from here as he comes around corner number 11 here at Road Atlanta for the final time. The race winner, round number 2 of the Motorola Cup, Doug Goad and his co-driver Devin Powell take home the victory. As far as touring class, that one's going to go to the 71 Schwarzkopf Endicott Acura. Another great job for that team. A small surprise as far as the sport class is concerned. The Team Hurricane, with a flat tire early on, stuck it out, persevered, and have brought the car home in first place in sport class. Lance Stewart and John Barassa the win with the number 10 Integra. And as far as compact class, Gord Cullen and Mark Craig, the car gets a little pat for a job well done today. Craig and Cullen winning in compact in car number 8. The winner, the number 11, Sunoco Firebird of Doug Goad with a victory lap. Involvement in racing is more than skin deep. Every pit crew here in Atlanta has been in constant wireless communication with their drivers during the race. And off the track, Motorola can help you win too. The popular Motorola StarTAC wearable phone has been reintroduced as a powerful web-enabled e-messaging tool. Motorola, enhancing your abilities. And now, introducing Web Without Wires. Check it out at Motorola.com. Our StarTAC stars of the race and overall winners, Devin Powell and Doug Goad. Our other Motorola StarTAC award winners today in the sport class, it was John Barassa and Lance Stewart. In touring, Peter Schwartzott and Bob Endicott. And in compact, Mark Craig and Gord Cullen. Let's have a quick word with our StarTAC award winner, the overall race winner, Doug Goad.
Basically about 15 minutes after I was in the car and we were able to run consistently pretty fast times. The Powell Motorsports Sunoco Firebird was just absolutely perfect today. It's a brand new car. We just put this one together. The other LS1, our old number 11, is now 31. We had our gremlins all week trying to get the engine to run right. And right before qualifying, we changed all the electrics on it. And all of a sudden it came to life. And the car was absolutely fantastic.
And our Derringer Forward Motion Award winner for gaining the most positions during the course of the race, Team Sweden, Bill Berggren and Hasse Pols. Let's look at a quick recap. Our STP scoreboard, the final results. First overall, Devin Powell and Doug Goad. Pfeffer and Fitzgerald in the BMW, McMillan and Culver in the second BMW.
In the sports category, Lance Stewart and John Barassa bring it home in the Acura Integra. Second, the Andy Lawley, Mike Johnson BMW. And third, Heffron Frontinen in the Eagle Talon.
In the touring class, it was the 71 Acura Integra of Schwartzott and Endicott. Dick Storita and John Weimar were second. Wayne and Will Nunemaker third in the 41 Mazda 626.
Coming home in compact, the winner, Craig Cullen in the Hyundai Tiburon. Second, the Fenton Beatty, number 27 Del Sol. And third, Mats Altenberg.
Our next race will be round 3 from Mosport, Canada. For Terry Earwood, I'm Jim Martin saying so long. The Motorola Cup has been brought to you by Motorola, Web Without Wires. By Derringer, Complete Logistics Solutions. And by Castrol, Track Proven Performance.